The story of the internet has very much been about software. Software is eating the world. Software services, cloud services are growing at an unprecedented rate. And I wanted to talk about another story, a story that we maybe haven't heard as much, but I think that we're going to be looking at much more intensely in the future. I work at True Ventures, which is an early stage venture capital firm based in Silicon Valley. And the thing that True is best known for in the industry is that True's been investing in hardware, in things, in physical objects, alongside of software. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about our experience today. We're probably best known for our investment in Fitbit, which is currently valued somewhere, the company's currently valued somewhere around $7.5 billion. Just IPO'd earlier this year. This is a wearable device that I'm sure many of you tried out, perhaps are wearing today in the audience. It's becoming increasingly popular. And what Fitbit really did is it unleashed this entire industry of innovation in the different kinds of objects that are now we're wearing, they're on our clothes, they're on our skin, they're even going inside our skin in some of the very wildest, the very latest new innovations. Another one of our investments, again, very early on, a company called 3D Robotics, that together with another company, a Chinese company, DJI, are leading the space of these autonomous or pilot-controlled drones. The quadcopters that we're getting increasingly used to seeing flying around. A third company that we've invested in, again, an innovator that's created an entire new industry of 3D printing, MakerBot, which I'm sure a lot of you here have used or seen those objects that have been created on a MakerBot that are made of various kinds of compounds of plastic and that are increasingly, again, kind of starting an entire new way of manufacturing and of designing. There's companies in the portfolio that are not yet as big, but that are growing at a very rapid pace. For instance, Little Bits, which started by a woman entrepreneur, I think is one of our most exciting companies right now. It's frankly, these are toys, mostly used by children, but they're not just toys. They're also physical smart devices that enable you to learn basically physical programming, how to make things that respond somehow to electrical impulses, string together to produce input-output mechanisms that create some kind of a result. Here's another one of the companies that perhaps you don't know yet, but that we've recently invested in. This is Remnovo Motors. They made this electric supercar, one of the fastest automobiles ever built. And what Remnovo does is a platform, a kind of modular platform on top of which it's possible to build any kind of electric car. But it's not just about hardware in the sense of being cars, about being robots, about being industrial printing machines. It's also about things like food, things we consume. Blue Bottle Coffee, which is probably one of my most favorite companies in our portfolio right now, is a little coffee shop started in San Francisco, which has now grown into a rapidly expanding empire of probably, if not the, then certainly one of the best coffee that you can get anywhere in the world. And this is one of those companies that I wanted to pay special attention to, and I'm hoping to introduce to all of you if you haven't looked at it yet. Peloton makes an exercise bike that's connected by a touchscreen so that when you exercise at your home, you're actually participating in a live class that's broadcast out of their studio in New York with a live host and a group of people who can get together, even though they're staying at the comfort of their own homes around the world, and take these classes together when it's convenient for them. You no longer have to go to a gym in order to feel like you're participating in a community, you can now do that from your own home. And this is one of those things that I'm starting to see increasingly in these companies, that the Internet of Things companies that have the most sustained success are the ones that are successful, like Peloton, at incorporating some kind of a service that integrally fits with it, often has a subscription revenue model. Like in the case of Peloton, you can of course exercise just by yourself on a bike, but that experience gets completely transformed when you feel like you're a part of a group that's doing it together. The one thing to the startups out there today at Slush, and I've been seeing them in the pitching competition too this morning, that unites all of these companies, and that I've found in my experience of looking at by now hundreds of pitches of different kinds of companies that are building connected things, that seems to unite the ones that have the most potential for success is quite simple. They capture our imagination. If you think about each one of those examples of companies I saw, flying drones, children who love playing with things that respond when they get touched, cars that don't pollute the environment, printers that enable you to create any object you can possibly imagine. All of them somehow capture our imagination and make us think, make us have hope for a better future. And at Slush here today, those are the companies that I think all of us are going to walk away remembering. So when you're thinking about an idea that you might want to start or to pitch to a VC, yes, it's important to think about the numbers and the metrics, and I've heard a lot of talk about these today. But also, and perhaps most importantly, is it something that you can buy into, not just with your money, but with your heart? And there's one more thing that I wanted to introduce you today. We've made a new investment just recently, right here in Finland, into a company that I think fits this model that captures the imagination. It's called ICEYE, and I'd like to introduce on stage Rafal Modrezewski, the CEO of ICEYE. This is a company that's emerged out of Aalto University, right here in Helsinki. Thanks for coming out, Rafal. And congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Jyri.
We're just announcing the Series A round led by True Ventures with participation from Founder.org and Lifeline Ventures. It's a $2.8 million round, I believe. And
Thanks.
Let me tell you the story of how I discovered ICEYE. I've been looking at various companies in the space of what's now called new space. That's technologies that can be shot up on these rockets built by companies like SpaceX that make it a lot cheaper to shoot microsatellites in the sky. And we've gotten used to the idea now that we can see the Earth from above. And we're building our systems, like logistics, on the basis that it's always available. We can always position ourselves when we look at Google Earth or when we look at these maps. But 50% of the time, it's not light out. This is the perfect place to be telling this story. It's November in Finland, and it's dark. And not only is it dark, it's often clouded. And most of these satellites that image the Earth are unable to see through clouds, and they can't see the Earth when it's dark. Yet, most of the time, in fact, over 70% of the time, that's the case. And we still need this imagery. And that's where Rafal's technology comes into play. They're building sensors, radar sensors, and mounting them on microsatellites that can see through clouds, that can see in the dark. And I wanted to ask you, Rafal, because I know you were just in Greece. Because of the refugee crisis, you were called in to help. Can you explain how your technology was able to save lives there?
Yep, I would be glad to do that. I was just recently on the island called Lesbos, which is a major point in the route for refugees. They are actually crossing a border between Middle Asia and Europe over there. And there are literally thousands of them coming on everyday basis, and they use these small inflatable boats that are extremely dangerous and packed. And every time they arrive, it's an extreme sensation. Everyone is devastated. The biggest point is that we can help them during the day, but we can do nothing during night. This is actually a picture that I took over there through night vision goggles, and as you can see, we were able only to spot the boats 10 meters before it actually landed at shore. Often they flip and people drown when kilometers away still from the shore. And we decided that we will be able to help. We brought radars over there. Radar technology is known for its capability to see through clouds and through the darkness and to survey when other things fail. And this is actually a real picture that we took while we were there. And one of the dots over there that you can see was a boat that we've spotted. We tracked it over for 5 to 10 minutes as it was landing, approaching the land. And we saw it landing, and we were able to be there when no one else was. And we helped these people, and they were actually very glad. Though the truth is, this was a really small scale. What we are trying to do in ICEYE is we are trying to substitute the small radars that we brought to Lesbos with satellite constellation capable of taking images at any time of any place. And just imagine how incredible this kind of capability would be, how many lives we could have saved around the world if only such a technology would be available, so you could actually take an image of any place, regardless whether it's dark or it's bright. And we actually have ordered this image in order to check how difficult it is to help this situation. We waited for this over 2 weeks. This image is 21 days old, but it shows you how it would look like had we been operational. This is actually a synthetic aperture radar image, the radar image of this particular area, and you can see one of these boats approaching the coast. With our technology, we would be able to take similar images on timely basis, probably every 15 minutes, and we would be able to track all these refugees and help them. And this is only one of the cases where this technology is just an incredible help for the society.
Thanks, Rafal.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to working with you, joining
We're
our board.
extremely excited to be part of the True Ventures team.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, guys.